The Grand Admiral Zorn of the Krell Dominion leaned forward in his command chair, multiple appendages tapping impatiently against the polished surface of his console. His scaled skin reflected the harsh blue light of the bridge screens, giving him an almost spectral appearance. The massive view screen before him displayed a small blue-green planet, third from an unremarkable yellow star. "So this is Earth?" Zorn's voice carried a hint of disappointment. "This insignificant rock is causing all the fuss in the Galactic Council." Lieutenant Drex, his second in command, stood rigidly at attention. "Yes, Admiral. Despite their primitive technology, they have refused all diplomatic overtures and declined membership in the Dominion. The Council believes making an example of them will discourage other emerging worlds from similar defiance." Zorn let out a wheezing sound that passed for laughter among the Krell. 17,000 conquered species in our empire, and these humans think they are special. How quaint. Our intelligence suggests they are quite adaptable, sir," Drex offered cautiously. "With the preliminary reports indicate unusual physiological resilience and psychological unpredictability. Every species thinks they are special until they meet the Krell," Zorn dismissed with a wave of his upper appendage. "Prepare the harvester vessels. We will take one specimen for the menagerie and then turn their oceans to glass. Standard procedure." "Of course, Admiral." Drex hesitated. Though Protocol Officer Traz did suggest a more cautious approach. Perhaps study them longer before. "Protocol Officer Traz worries about everything," Zorn interrupted. "One specimen, one demonstration of power, and we move on. I won't waste more than a single planetary rotation on this backwater world." Captain Jury Vex of the Krell extraction team adjusted her tactical visor as she surveyed the human settlement below. The extraction site was a rural area, minimal defenses, perfect for a quick grab-and-go operation. Her team of 8 elite soldiers waited for her signal, cloaking fields active. "Remember," she said through the neural comm, "minimal collateral damage. Admiral Zorn wants one prime specimen for the menagerie, preferably not damaged. After extraction, we pull back and let the orbital platforms handle the rest." A chorus of acknowledgments echoed in her mind. Vex had led hundreds of these operations across dozens of systems. The Krell were nothing if not efficient at this point. Insert, extract, annihilate. Simple. Target identified. Her scanner officer reported. Human male. Appears to be in physical prime. Isolated location. Uploading coordinates now. Vex received the data packet and processed it instantly. "Perfect. Strike team, converge on target. Stun protocols only." The Krell soldiers moved with practiced precision through the tall vegetation, approaching a solitary structure where the human was located. Their advanced sensors indicated no weapons, no communications technology beyond the primitive level expected. This would be laughably easy. Breach in 3, 2, 1. The front door of the modest dwelling exploded inward as Vex's team stormed through. The human male inside looked up from what appeared to be a food preparation activity, remarkably calm given the circumstances. He was taller than expected, with dark hair and an expression that showed more curiosity than fear. "Ha," the human said, putting down a knife and what looked like a vegetable. "You guys are definitely not the pizza delivery I ordered." Vex raised her stunned baton. Subject secured. Preparing for transport. The human raised his hands slowly. "Let me guess. Alien abduction? Seriously? That's still a thing you guys do?" "Silence," Vex commanded, surprised the universal translator was working so smoothly with this previously uncontacted species. "You have been selected for preservation in the grand menagerie of the Krell Dominion. Your world will be cleansed. Be honored that a sample of your kind will survive." The human actually laughed. "Wow. That's pretty much word for word what the alien says in about 50 of our movies. Do you guys watch our entertainment broadcasts or something? Because this feels like plagiarism." Vex ignored the incomprehensible babbling and nodded to her subordinates. "Secure the specimen." 2 soldiers approached with restraints, but the human made no move to resist, which was unusual. No species fought or begged at this point. "I should probably warn you," the human said conversationally as they bound his limbs. "This is a really, really bad idea. Like, catastrophically bad." "All specimens say something similar," Vex replied dismissively. "Your primitive threats mean nothing to the Dominion." The human shook his head. "Not a threat. It's just friendly advice. My name's Jack, by the way. Jack Thorne. You might want to remember that. It will be important later." "Designation recorded," Vex said automatically, though she saw no reason why this creature's identifier would matter. "Transport ready. Return to the vessel." As they marched the human outside toward their cloaked shuttle, he kept talking, which Vex found increasingly irritating. "You know, we have been waiting for first contact for centuries," Jack said. "Built all these protocols, prepared all these diplomatic responses. And instead of take me to your leader, we get the galaxy's rudest kidnappers. The xenosociologists are going to be so disappointed." "Gag the specimen," Vex ordered, her patience wearing thin. Before her soldiers could comply, Jack added, "Just curious, but does your species have any concept of GPS tracking? Or emergency beacons? Or the fact that I'm wearing about 6 different ones right now?" For the first time, Vex felt a twinge of unease. She signaled for an immediate scan of the human. The results came back a moment later, and her blood ran cold. The human was broadcasting on multiple frequencies, and according to their instruments, several of the signals had already been acknowledged by receivers. "Move. Get him to the ship now," Vex shouted, all protocol forgotten. Admiral Zorn was enjoying a nutritional supplement when the alert sounded. He slammed down his feeding tube with annoyance. "What is it now?" Drex appeared on his screen, looking concerned. "Sir, the extraction team has secured a specimen, but there's a complication. The human was carrying multiple tracking devices. And more concerning, our sensors are detecting rapid mobilization of primitive but numerous military forces in the area." Zorn dismissed this with a contemptuous gesture. "Irrelevant. Once the specimen is secured, begin the cleansing protocol." "Yes, Admiral, but there's something else. We are detecting unusual activity in their orbital space. They appear to be activating dormant satellites, hundreds of them." This caught Zorn's attention. "Weapons platforms?" "Unknown, sir. They don't match any weapons signatures in our database, but they are definitely powering up. And they are changing position to create a grid pattern around their planet." A primitive defensive measure, Zorn decided after a moment's consideration. "Proceed as planned." "Is the specimen secure yet?" "Captain Vex is docking now, sir." "Good. Once they are aboard, take us to safe distance and begin planetary bombardment." But Jack Thorne sat calmly in his cell aboard the Krell vessel, examining the energy barrier that served as a door. The aliens had taken his clothes, replacing them with some kind of metallic mesh that probably served as both restraint and monitoring device. They'd also subjected him to a series of uncomfortable scans, taken blood samples, and recorded his vital signs. Standard alien abduction stuff, really. Captain Vex entered the detention area, looking significantly less composed than she had on Earth. "Your species has 7 minutes remaining," she informed him coldly. "The cleansing has begun." Jack leaned back against the wall of his cell. "Yeah, about that. You really might want to reconsider. It's not too late to take me back and apologize." Vex made a sound that might have been a snort. "You still don't understand your situation. The Krell Dominion does not apologize. We conquer, we collect, we cleanse. Your species will be remembered only as specimen 18,742 in our catalog." "Funny thing about humans," Jack replied, scratching his chin thoughtfully. "We have spent our entire history fighting each other, thousands of years perfecting the art of war against ourselves. But we always had this fantasy, I guess. This idea that if aliens ever showed up, we'd finally unite. Put aside our differences. It was a nice thought. But most of us figured we'd just keep squabbling, even if UFOs landed on the White House lawn." Vex tilted her head, clearly not understanding the relevance of his monologue. Jack continued, But then you guys had to go and make the one mistake guaranteed to actually make that fantasy come true. You took one of us. The ship suddenly shuddered violently, throwing Vex against the wall. Alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. "What's happening?" she demanded into her communicator. The frantic voice of a bridge officer responded. "Unknown weapons fire from the planet's surface. Multiple impacts. They have somehow penetrated our shields." Jack smiled. "Did I mention I'm not just any human? Before you so rudely interrupted my dinner, I was Special Forces retired. Now I consult on extraterrestrial defense protocols. Been doing it for years, ever since we found those alien ruins on Mars." Vex's eyes widened. "What ruins?" "There are no ruins on the fourth planet. We surveyed it thoroughly." "Not anymore there aren't," Jack agreed. "We removed them after extracting all the useful technology, including some very interesting shield frequencies and hull compositions that look remarkably similar to your ship." Another violent impact rocked the vessel, more alarms joining the cacophony. "Admiral to all hands." Zorn's voice boomed over the communication system. "Defensive positions. The primitives have disabled our primary propulsion. Launch all fighters. Target their missile launch sites." Vex stared at Jack with new understanding and what might have been the first stirrings of fear. "Those satellites," she said. "They weren't defensive." "Kinetic bombardment platforms," Jack confirmed with a nod. Tungsten rods accelerated to orbital velocities. "No explosives, no radiation, just good old-fashioned physics. Mass times velocity equals your really bad day." The ship rocked again, more violently this time. Emergency lighting kicked in as the main power fluctuated. "This is impossible," Vex insisted. "Your species is pre-FTL. You shouldn't have this technology." Jack shrugged. "We are quick studies and highly motivated. You know what they say, never kidnap someone from a species that watches too many alien invasion movies." Vex's communicator erupted with frantic reports from all decks. Breaches in multiple sections. Critical systems failing. Fighter bays destroyed before launch. Admiral Zorn to all personnel. The announcement system crackled. "Prepare for emergency jump. Abandon all secondary objectives." "We must warn the Dominion about this threat." Jack squeaked softly. "Yeah, that's not happening either." As if on cue, new alarms sounded, and the ship's computer announced in its emotionless voice, "FTL systems compromised. Jump drive failing. Containment breach imminent." "What have you done?" Vex whispered. "Me? Nothing. I'm just sitting here in a cell," Jack replied. "But about now, I'm guessing the Earth Defense Fleet is arriving. The real one, not the decoys you detected earlier." The detention area view screen activated automatically as the ship's systems rerouted power to critical functions. The image showed the space around them, and Vex gasped audibly. Hundreds of warships had appeared, seemingly from nowhere, surrounding the Krell vessel. They were sleek, black, and utterly silent, showing no engine emissions or energy signatures until they opened fire in perfect synchronization. "Like I said," Jack remarked, as the cell barrier flickered and died. "Taking one of us was a really bad idea." Admiral Zorn stared at the tactical display in stunned disbelief. The human fleet had appeared instantly, using some form of jump technology that had completely evaded Krell sensors. Now his mighty warship, pride of the Dominion, was crippled and surrounded. "How?" he demanded of no one in particular. "How is this possible?" Drex, bleeding from a head wound, looked up from his damaged console. "Sir, we are being hailed by the human ships." "Ignore it," Zorn snarled. "Reroute all power to weapons. If we are to die, we will take many of them with us." "Sir," Drex insisted, "they are not just hailing us. They are broadcasting on all Dominion frequencies. They are transmitting directly to the Galactic Council and every major world in Krell space." Zorn froze. "What are they saying?" The main screen flickered to life, showing a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. entire expression was coldly professional. "This is Admiral Helena Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet to the Krell vessel. Your unprovoked attack on Earth and abduction of a human citizen constitutes an act of war under interstellar law. The penalty is total annihilation. However, we are prepared to offer one chance for surrender. Release our citizen immediately, and your crew will be spared." Zorn hissed in fury. "Preposterous. The Krell do not surrender." On the screen, Admiral Stone continued as if she had heard him. "Be advised that this message is being transmitted to all worlds in your empire. They are witnessing your defeat in real time. Your choice will determine not only your fate but the future of the Krell Dominion." The screen split to show multiple worlds: the Krell homeworld, their major colonies, the Galactic Council chambers. All were receiving the transmission. For the first time in his long career, Grand Admiral Zorn felt true fear. "Sir," Drex said quietly, "the human prisoner has escaped containment. He's requesting to speak with you on the bridge." The bridge of the Krell flagship had descended into chaos. Warning indicators flashed from every console as damage reports flooded in from all decks. The once immaculate command center now featured exposed circuitry, sparking panels, and the acrid smell of burning synthetic materials. Grand Admiral Zorn gripped the arms of his command chair, his multiple eyes darting between the tactical displays, showing the overwhelming human fleet surrounding his vessel. The door to the bridge slid open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing Jack Thorne, still wearing the metallic mesh prisoner garment, but now flanked by two human soldiers in sleek, black combat armor. "Permission to come aboard the bridge?" Jack asked with a smirk. "Oh wait, I'm already here." Zorn's facial scales flared in rage. "How did you get past our security protocols? Where did those soldiers come from?" "Teleportation technology," Jack replied casually, walking toward the Admiral while the human soldiers secured the remaining Krell bridge crew. "Reverse engineered from those ruins I mentioned. Your shields might stop conventional boarding, but quantum entanglement, that's a whole different ballgame." Lieutenant Drex moved to intercept Jack, but one of the human soldiers raised a compact weapon that emitted a pulse of blue energy, freezing the Krell officer in place. "Non-lethal," Jack explained. "We could have vaporized this entire ship, but that's not how we operate. Unlike some species I could mention." Zorn's upper appendages twitched nervously. "What do you want, human?" "First, I want you to understand exactly what's happening," Jack said, perching himself on the edge of a damaged console. "Right now, 12 Earth fleets have deployed throughout Krell space. Every major military installation, shipyard, and command center in your empire is currently surrounded, just like this ship. Your homeworld has 96 Earth vessels in orbit. Your colony worlds? Same story." "Impossible," Zorn whispered, though the tactical displays confirmed the humans' claims. "No species could have developed such a force without our knowledge." Jack shrugged. "We have been watching the stars for centuries. When we found the ruins and realized we weren't alone, we didn't announce ourselves. We prepared. Quietly. Thoroughly. Your intelligence on Earth was based entirely on what we wanted you to see." The main view screen flickered, showing Admiral Helena Stone once again. "Grand Admiral Zorn, your time is running out. We require your formal surrender and the immediate cessation of all Krell military operations throughout the galaxy." Zorn slammed his appendage down on his armrest. "The Krell have conquered 17,000 species across 3 galactic arms. We will not surrender to primitives who have barely left their own atmosphere." Jack sighed and looked at Admiral Stone on the screen. "He's not getting it, Helena." "Then show him," she replied grimly. Jack nodded to one of the human soldiers, who activated a portable holographic projector. The device hummed to life, displaying a 3-dimensional tactical map of the entire Krell Dominion. Thousands of red dots appeared throughout the map, each representing an Earth vessel. "Let me explain our position more clearly," Jack said. "Earth isn't just a planet, Admiral. It's the homeworld of humanity, yes, but it's also the headquarters of the Terran Protectorate. Those 17,000 species you have conquered over the centuries? We have been systematically liberating them for the past 50 years. The holographic display zoomed in on various Krell worlds, showing massive planetary shields activating, shields that hadn't been there hours before. Those are our defensive systems, Jack continued, installed covertly on every world in your empire by resistance movements we have been supporting. As of 12 minutes ago, the Krell military no longer controls a single planet in your so-called dominion. Zorn's facial coloration paled to an ashen gray. The Galactic Council would never permit this. This violates all established protocols. Jack laughed, the sound echoing harshly through the damaged bridge. The Galactic Council. You mean that puppet organization you established to give your conquests a veneer of legitimacy? Yeah, we infiltrated that too. Half the council representatives have been working with us for decades. On the main screen, Admiral Stone's expression remained impassive. Final warning, Admiral Zorn. Surrender now or face the consequences. Captain Vex burst onto the bridge, bleeding from several wounds but still clutching her sidearm. Admiral, don't listen to them. The Krell never surrender. Jack barely glanced in her direction. Captain Vex, I was wondering when you'd join us. Excellent timing. Before Vex could respond, the tactical displays on the bridge lit up with new alerts. Throughout Krell space, on every world and station, dormant systems were suddenly activating. What's happening? Zorn demanded, his voice cracking with the first hints of panic. Total system override, Jack explained calmly. Every piece of Krell technology in the galaxy is now being controlled by Earth. Your weapons are disabled. Your ships are locked in place. Your communications are under our control. Vex fired her weapon at Jack, but the energy blast dissipated harmlessly against some invisible barrier surrounding him. Personal shield, Jack noted with mild interest. Another useful technology we developed. Captain, please put that down before you hurt yourself. Zorn finally understood the gravity of the situation. His mighty empire, built over millennia of conquest, had been infiltrated and subverted from within. And it had all started because they had taken one human prisoner. Why? He asked, his voice barely audible. Why go to such lengths? You could have simply defended your world when we arrived. Jack's expression hardened. Because you are not the first hostile species we have encountered. Admiral, it's just the most recent. Humanity learned long ago that the best defense isn't just protecting our homeworld, it's ensuring that those who would threaten us are never in a position to do so again. Admiral Stone spoke from the screen. Your decision, Admiral Zorn. Surrender or annihilation. 10 seconds. Zorn looked at the tactical displays one last time, hoping to find some sign that this was all an elaborate bluff. There was none. The Krell Dominion, the mightiest empire the galaxy had ever known, had fallen in less than one planetary rotation. I surrender, Zorn said, the words nearly choking him. Traitor. Vex screamed, lunging toward the Admiral with her ceremonial blade drawn. One of the human soldiers fired, the non-lethal pulse freezing her in mid-leap. Thank you, Admiral, Stone acknowledged. Transition protocols are now in effect. All Krell military personnel will be detained pending investigation for war crimes against sentient species. Civilian governance will be established under protectorate oversight until free elections can be held on all former Dominion worlds. Jack approached Zorn, who sat slumped in his command chair, the very image of defeat. For what it's worth, Jack said quietly, I did try to warn you. 6 months later, Jack Thorne stood on the observation deck of the Earth diplomatic vessel Harmony, watching as the former Krell homeworld rotated slowly beneath them. The planet looked different now, the massive military installations replaced by parks and public spaces, and the oppressive monuments to Krell supremacy torn down and replaced with memorials to those who had suffered under their rule. Admiral Helena Stone joined him at the viewport, her formal diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to Jack's casual attire. The last of the transition protocols have been implemented, she informed him. The newly elected Krell provisional government has formally joined the Protectorate. Their representatives will take their seats on the Reformed Galactic Council next month. Jack nodded. And the former military leadership? Most have accepted rehabilitation. A few, like Zorn, requested exile instead. He's been relocated to an observation post on the Outer Rim. I think he's still trying to understand how it all went wrong. And Captain Vex? Helena smiled slightly. Surprisingly, she's adapted better than most. After the initial shock wore off, she requested permission to join the Protectorate security forces. She's currently training new recruits on integrated defense tactics. Jack raised an eyebrow. That's unexpected. Not really, Helena replied. The psychological profiles indicated she wasn't truly loyal to the Dominion's ideology, just to the concept of duty and order. Once she saw a better alternative, she adapted. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the planet turn below them. The massive Earth fleet that had once surrounded it was gone now, replaced by a small contingent of Protectorate peacekeeping vessels. Was it worth it? Jack asked finally. The centuries of preparation? The resources devoted to this operation? Helena considered the question. 17,000 liberated species would say yes. Billions of individuals who are now free would say yes. She paused. But I know what you are really asking. Was it worth the deception? Hiding our true capabilities from the galaxy for so long? Allowing other species to suffer under Krell rule while we built our strength? Jack nodded. That's the question that keeps me up at night. It's the question that keeps all of us up at night, Helena admitted. We didn't have the strength to challenge the Dominion when we first discovered it. By the time we did, they had already conquered thousands of worlds. If we had revealed ourselves then, Earth might have been just another conquered planet. So we waited, Jack said. We watched. We prepared. And when they finally came for us, we were ready. Helena turned to face him directly. The Krell made one fundamental mistake in their calculations. They saw a pre-FTL civilization and assumed primitiveness. They never considered that our apparent technological level was a choice, not a limitation. Jack's communicator chimed with an incoming message. He checked it and smiled. The educational reforms on former Krell colony world Draz 9 have been completed ahead of schedule, he reported. Literacy rates up 400% in just 6 months. Helena nodded with satisfaction. That's what this was all about, Jack. Not vengeance, not empire building, just giving people the freedom to determine their own futures. Speaking of futures, Jack said, I hear you have approved my request for retirement. Again. You have earned it, Helena replied. Though I doubt it will stick this time either. You have been retiring for 30 years now? Jack laughed. This time I mean it. A quiet cabin on Earth. Maybe take up fishing. No more getting abducted by aliens. And if some other hostile species comes calling, Jack's expression grew serious. Then they will learn the same lesson the Krell did. Humanity doesn't start fights, but we certainly finish them. On the outer rim of the galaxy, in a small observation post orbiting a forgotten moon, former Grand Admiral Zorn watched the information feeds from across the reformed Galactic Council space. Reports of new schools opening on former Krell worlds, trading partnerships forming between species that had once been bitter enemies under Dominion rule, scientific breakthroughs emerging from collaborative research initiatives. His quarters were comfortable enough, though a far cry from the opulence he had once enjoyed. The humans had been true to their word, not torture, not execution, just exile and the opportunity to watch as everything he had built was transformed into something entirely different. Lieutenant Drex, who had chosen to share his exile, entered with their evening meal rations. More reports from the homeworld, Drex said, setting down the food trays. The new agricultural techniques have increased food production by 60%. There are no more shortages in the outer provinces. Zorn made a dismissive gesture. The Dominion provided order, structure. Without it, the galaxy will eventually descend into chaos. Drex hesitated before responding. With respect, Admiral, I have been studying the human historical databases they have provided us. Their species nearly destroyed itself multiple times. They fought devastating wars, faced extinction-level events, struggled with the same impulses toward conquest and dominance that drove the Dominion. Your point? Zorn asked irritably. They learned from it, Drex said simply. They found another way. Not perfect, but better. Perhaps we can learn too. Zorn turned back to the observation window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, a planet he had once dismissed as insignificant. A planet that had brought the mighty Krell Dominion to its knees not through superior firepower or brutal conquest, but through patience, planning, and a fundamental understanding of something the Krell had never grasped. They took one prisoner, Zorn mused aloud. Just one. And that was all they needed. Drex placed a data tablet beside him. The humans sent this. They said you requested information about their species' historical development. Zorn picked up the tablet and began to read. Perhaps, after all this time, it was finally worth understanding the species that had changed the course of galactic history simply because the Krell had taken one prisoner. And Earth had responded with total annihilation of everything the Dominion stood for. Not with violence, but with something far more powerful, an alternative,